Roll call.
Parker? Here. Miscellaneous. Olson?
Here.
Zittergrun?
Here.
Chisel?
Here.
Whittle?
Here.
Neal?
Here.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the council at this time? Step up to the podium, state your name and address. Dr. Clay, how'd you like to just move that over just a little bit? That's good. Thank you.
Good
That's
afternoon, council. Named Dr. Robert Clay, Chief Equity Inclusion Officer at Luther College. I guess my address is 700 College Drive because I'm speaking on behalf of the college. Just want to say thank you so much to the partnership with Decorah for the past weekend of activities. From homecoming to Brad's inauguration to today with the royal visit has been a great time of communication in regards to connecting with the community and intersection of the Luther College family as well as the Decorah family because we are one. I want to also extend the opportunity. We're doing something new this year for MLK. For the past 2 years, we've done Dream Week, which is a week of activities throughout the week of MLK. But we realized a couple things. One, the core students are out of school. However, Luther students are in school, and there was some gaps in regards to activities to engage both communities. So this year we'll be doing one community town and gown event on that MLK Day. I don't know how the core is structured in regards to city council or different representatives, but we need someone to work with us to make this a town and gown event. So if there's any opportunities for engaging with some of you or some recommendation you may have who could represent the core, that'll be helpful. So our goal this year is to do one event, kind of like 11:30, 12 o'clock at the CFL with community leaders as well as community folks involved with it. And then following like a town conversation about civil liberties and justices and things that nature to celebrate Dr. King. So I can be reached at clay@luther.edu and more to come. Thank you so much.
And what is that date?
Monday, January 19th or the third Monday in January.
Okay.
Make sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks a lot.
Anyone else? Okay, city manager, department head, and council reports.
Okay, so Highland Street Phase 1, we've got about 2 more weeks of underground utility work, both on the private utility side. That'd be west of Mill Street location, and then east would be on the municipal underground utility. And before that paving crew then can come in on the backside. This part, early in the spring, weather was not cooperative at all. We had a dry spell. We got some more rain yesterday. I'm really hoping that the weather holds out the rest of this fall so we can make sure we're paving in decent weather and not putting blankets on top of it as snow falls on top. We want to avoid that at all costs. That's really about all I have to report.
Just a reminder to make sure you got your microphone. I think you're okay, but
So what I might also add, and those on Zoom, I know some have reached out to council members about audio quality. We have upgraded the software used for audio in the council chambers here. So if you do or don't notice a difference, please feel free to reach out and let us know, again, if you notice any difference there.
okay, thank you.
Can you give an update on the status of the promotional materials for the?
Yes, so I've received a final draft of some informational materials to go out on the municipal bond project on the City Hall Fire Station project. I'll review that tonight after the council meeting, let the consultant know if I see any remaining issues. That will go out as a mass mailing. It has 3 scheduled open house dates with 3 different times. It did a morning session, lunch session, as well as an evening. So those dates are Monday, October 13th. That is the 12 o'clock noon open house. Again, Monday. Did I say the 20th or 13th?
You said the
I
third.
did say, but I'm
I
looking
don't-
right at the 20th. My apologies. Monday, October 20th at noon. Tuesday, the 21st. That is the evening. That would be 6 o'clock PM. And then Wednesday, the 22nd. That is the morning. That'll be 9 o'clock AM. And again, a mass mailer will go out with those 3 dates and times, as well as information as to why we are putting this ballot question out in front of the public.
Will information on that flyer or on the informational itself include voting information when you can early vote?
Correct.
Okay.
Early voting dates, mail-in dates, polling locations, all of that will also be on part of that mailer.
Okay, great.
Okay, Carrie?
I just wanted to give you guys an update on the water meter replacement project. We had a win that I wanted to share with you. Last Thursday, we had training on some of the software that's going to be able to give us the information, more specific information on residents' water usage. We had a resident that called in Monday of last week asking why she had such a high bill. And we reviewed it with what we had at the time. And from what we gathered, we figured there's an additional month of billing that was on that billing just because of our timing of the bills going out. We asked her if she thought she had any leaks. She did not. And so she took that and like, okay, thanks for the information. So on Thursday, when we were having training on it, we gave this resident as an example, like bring up this resident's water usage. We were able to tell that she was using 13 gallons of water an hour. And so right away, the water department was in the training with us and they're like, that's a toilet. So we left the training, called her and said, you need to call a plumber right away. So that's what we're going to be able to do. We're going to be able to get it down to the hour and the minute of what people are using. We're going to get notifications first thing every morning of possible leaks. I mean, it's going to be great information. She was ecstatic.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, so that's a great win.
Okay. Council reports. Kirsten,
Got 3 things here.
pull your
I
microphone.
was able to attend,
Mike,
what's
your-
that?
Pull your
Yeah.
microphone
Oh,
down.
sorry. Yeah.
Thank
I was
you.
able to attend the things we had for the Crown Prince today. We had one up on Water Street here today. That was really an excellent program. But the one at Luther, I just wanted to make one comment on. To hear his speech that he gave today, it was an honor to hear a statesman such as him deliver the speech that he did. It was just an honor to be in attendance for that. I know others were here as well, and I'll let them talk to other things, maybe that they witnessed at that as well. Second thing is, I attended the Chamber of Commerce. They had their award ceremony last week. I won't go through all the people that were honored at that, but we did have 2 honors that were given out to people that connected with the city of Decorah here. Mike O'Hara and the rest of the street department were recognized with I think they called it a Spark Joy Award. And they were honored because of the work they'd done on Main Street up there in front of the courthouse. They'd redone the curb and gutter there and stuff like that. The only problem with it was they just got one lighter as their reward. So they have to figure out who's going to get it and what week each one gets it and stuff like that. It was a nice honor for them. The second person I want to recognize is the mayor, Lorraine Borowski. Got honored for a positivity award, which I can't think of a better thing to honor her for. I think that's what she's done in the 8 years that she's been here, is projected a positive image for the city of Decorah and everybody that's connected with it. I know she's done that with the city council. She's requested that when we go around and give our council reports, that we give positive things and focus on those things. So I want to thank her for that, and that was a well-deserved award you got, Mayor.
We also, actually Sophie from the library got one too.
Right? Oh, that's true. Very good. And in honor of that Positivity Award, I'd like to read a statement tonight concerning some events that have gone on in the last few weeks here in the county and the city. I know some people were frustrated when the Winter County Board of Supervisors failed to approve funding for the Decorah Athletic Complex. That frustration was understandable as their lack of cooperation did not allow the city to apply for a CAT grant, which would have allowed the city to acquire up to $500,000 in additional funding. However, things changed last Monday. Dan Langrick, the chairman of the board, had a change of heart. After careful consideration and listening to his constituents, Mr. Langrick joined Shirley Vermace and Mark Faldett and voted to approve $5,000 for the county budget to contribute to the athletic complex. Thus, since the requirements to submit for the grant were met, the city of Decorah is now in the process of preparing that grant application. I believe this is an important moment. Mr. Langwick should be commended for his actions. It takes a great deal of courage to change your mind and vote on an issue that had become so divisive within our county. I'm sure he has heard from a number of constituents that were against the county providing this funding. You see, the county put this on their agenda at least 5 or 6 times as a topic of discussion. That fact in and of itself is commendable. That says they all gave this topic a great deal of consideration before the final vote was taken. Let's use this moment to open a door of mutual cooperation between the City Council and the Board of Supervisors. While some may feel that this $5,000 was not nearly enough funding, as it was far less than the city's requested amount, the important thing is that it allows the city an opportunity to achieve its desired outcome of their original request by now being able to apply for the grant. Hopefully, this motion by Mr. Langwick will serve as an olive branch that will allow the city and the county to move forward with mutual cooperation in the future. Both the city and the county win when we work together for the betterment of both sides. When Decorah does better, the county does better, and vice versa. When the county does better, the city of Decorah does better. That's all I have.
Thank you. Brent?
I do not have anything.
Steve?
A few things. So thanks, Kristen, for what you said, and I agree. I admire Dan for reflecting carefully and then being willing to change his mind. It's something that people should expect of their leaders. That people should expect their leaders consider the evidence, think carefully, listen to constituents, and then make decisions that are in the best interest of this community. However small of a step, it was in the right direction. It was a step in the right direction, and I appreciate it, and I admire the county board for the hard work they put into this decision. I also want to invite my fellow council members to join me Saturday. I'm planning to march in the Pride Parade, which is at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And I wanted to invite anyone who wanted to join me to be part of my float. Right now, it's a couple of us. I think that I mentioned this to Emily, and she said she'd be there. But we are lining up at our float position. My float position is going to be number 18, and this is an open invitation to any local elected official who wants to show support to members of our community who are celebrating the day. And this is not just for council. I'm going to extend the same invitation to other elected officials in the community. This isn't an opportunity to campaign or promote any particular, message or anything, but I just want to welcome you to walk with me in support of community members. That's going to be parade position number 18, and the lineup time is noon next Saturday. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. The other, no, actually, my other thing was about microphone etiquette. And Travis, thanks for the work you did on that. So I appreciate it.
Randy?
Well, this is going to sound like a repeat because of some changes made at the state level, but congratulations to our individual tennis players last week. Our doubles team finished second in the girls tournament, and we had an individual finish sixth, which is great. And the team event was today, and they swept that, so they're in the semifinals tomorrow down in Pella.
Congratulations.
Unfortunately, because of the season changes, everything has to be during the week because they're allowing them to overlap this year with other sports as they transition through this. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Monday, Tuesday, it's kind of hard to go down and root them on.
Yeah. Okay. Cody?
I just wanted to echo what has already been mentioned about
Hey, Cody?
Yep.
I'm going to do that to you too.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'd just like to echo what's already been mentioned about the county and the change of vote. I know that sometimes it feels like a division between the Winneshiek rural residents and Decorah, but I just want to say that community is really important, and it extends beyond the boundaries of this township. And I think it's really important for neighbors to be, for all of us to have community. And so I really appreciate the change of heart on that. I'd also like to extend, I would like to kind of stand up for the cities that have been in the news lately. Places like Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, Seattle, all of these places. I find that it's easy to frighten people about places like this. But personally, one of my favorite things to do as a human being is go to cities like this and just walk around and absorb as much as I can from them. And I have walked around Seattle and Chicago and New York City and San Francisco and Portland. All of these places I've walked around by myself and never once felt unsafe or in danger of any kind. Portland, Oregon is one of the most friendly places I've ever been to in my life. And also, I could say that for San Francisco as well. And just these are beautiful places filled with people that oftentimes move here from Winnebago County or, other small towns. So they are not these like separate people that live in these cities on the hill. They are us who have moved to these places. So I want to defend these places that have been in the news because I know them and I love them and I appreciate them. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Emily?
I will echo everyone's sentiments in thanking the county for the funding that will allow us to apply for the $500,000 grant. And just for thinking broadly about what benefits our entire county. So thank you for that. I do want to clear up one of the comments made and that this isn't some sort of bailout for the city. The city's finances are in great order. And I do want to make it clear that this is a grant application and it needed a joint match. That wasn't something the city could have pulled out of our coffers, even if we had it, which we did. So again, just to clear up some misconceptions about why we had to ask for the money in the first place. Then I also want to say that unfortunately, I will be gone when the city is having some information sessions related to the fire department. I don't want that to be construed in any way that I'm not 100% supportive of the vote. And so I do also want to offer, I like to do this quarterly. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not. A listening session to be determined, but it will be October 29th. I'll be having a listening session. So if people want to ask me about all things city or more about the fire station, look for that news announcement in the paper. And then just to let my fellow council members know, I will be gone for the October 20th meeting. Steve is correct. I do plan to be marching in Pride and ask anyone within city or anyone who would like to march alongside their elected officials to do so. I think it's important now more than ever that we demonstrate a care and a need to take care of each other in the world we're living in. So that is all I have.
Okay. I had the honor of participating in both Brad Chamberlain's installation and also with the King of Norway, Crown Prince of Norway here today. And I was grateful and hopeful because oftentimes we think about everything that's going on, perhaps even further away than us. But it's hopeful to be able to participate with so much community connection and know what a great community we have. One thing I will mention is Travis and I got to be participating in Andy Carlson's government class last week, which was a lot of fun to have him come in. They came in and we talked about city council. They went on a tour of the fire station, the police station, and we used to have them here quite often in the back of the room listening. So that was a lot of fun. Okay. Presentation of proposed elementary school by Dr. Tim Cronin. Come up to the podium, adjust the microphone accordingly. I don't think there's an extension, although you can bring it up and put it on the thing. Go all the way up, and then that makes it higher for you. There. That's better.
Is that going to work?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. I have a lot of things to say, but I think I'll focus my comments on the new school today. But I am wearing my Nordic sweater still from the visit. Mayor Borowski, City Council, thanks for the opportunity to speak today about the progress of our new elementary school. At one point in time, Nick's got a slideshow that he's, and I'll introduce Nick here in a second. We were putting together a slideshow for today. We were put on the mission and the vision. And I wasn't going to read that to the city council, but obviously one of the parts of our mission is making sure that Decorah remains one of the best school districts in the state. And part of that process, as you know, is evaluating our facilities and looking when there's needs to improve those. So the new pre-K 2 elementary school was high on our list to improve. Also, at the same time, and this might sound familiar, we also understand that and deeply value the symbiotic relationship between the school board and the city, or the school district and the city. What's good for us is good for you, and vice versa. And having a healthy school district with good facilities is part of that. So a major part of this process came together when the city council and the school board agreed on the agreement to sell the western portion of the Hy-Vee Island. In our press release on October 3rd of 2023, Mayor Borowski expressed her appreciation that we were finally able to address this need after a decade of discussion and planning. When I read that, I thought to myself, well, technically it was we viewed it as about a 16-year process, but it was a long time to get to that point. We're very appreciative that the city council agreed to sell us the land at that time. As you know, that was kind of a turning point for us. We then put the new school on the bond issue, the general election in November 24, and we passed that general obligation bond. So tonight we're ready to share some of the plans for the facilities, about the progress we're making on the process. We've got some diagrams and drawings, and we're just excited that not only what this does for the school districts, but what this is going to do for the community. So I've got Tom from Myron, and he's in there virtually, but a lot of the presentation is going to be Nick from Emergent. So Nick is our architect, and he's going to walk us through the next part of the presentation.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Thanks for having me here. Nick Hildebrandt with Emergent Architecture. I just have a really kind of quick slideshow here. Wanted to kind of show the process that was taken by the school district and kind of how that went. Tim talked a little bit about the mission and vision. Wanted to put that out there. It's obviously in their emblem about learning, thriving, and creating our legacy. Some of the pre-work that was done, some of you even participated in. We had a facility committee with administration, building and grounds, community stakeholders, which was pre-bond issue. Also, along with that, we had what we'd call schematic iterations, where we went through kind of different ways to set the site up and how the building might fit on that site, how the site might work. And so it's our job to kind of take that mission and vision along with feedback from stakeholders, community members, and see how that emerges through design for the school district. We have internal stakeholder collaboration, which is when we bring the admin teams, teachers, staff in and talk about what this school is going to start to look like. This is early rendition of the schematic design, which actually took a whole 360 and changed through this whole, or 180, and completely changed its orientation through this design process. We have a lot of things on our mind as we go through this process, one of them being sustainability. We have Bluestone Engineering as part of our team, which we worked with the Wildan Group, which is paid for by Alliant Energy, to go through mechanical systems, cost of ownership, life cycle cost analysis, to really hone in on what the best mechanical system, daylighting systems, those different types of things, and how that affects the building, as well as the occupants. Through all this, we partnered with Myron. They were brought on board as a construction manager as risk, and really have been talking about the budget throughout this entire process. So we've gotten through a value engineering process where we really honed in on what was important to the district. And these early changes allow us to really affect the building more now instead of later on as we get closer to the bidding process. after or through all this process, the design evolves. And so we have a process called design development. You can see some pictures there where we have each user group of every room come in and talk about how they're going to use that space. So teachers, librarians, all the people that are going to be using it, teaching in that space, were able to give input on spaces in that, which really came up with the final design. We also had committees that talked about the site. And so site connections, this is the overall site plan. You can kind of see the white box is how the school is sitting there on the site. The upper right-hand corner shows the drop-off situation. I don't know if I can point on here, but up in here would be the drop-off situation. So this is the existing driveway. The parents will end up coming in here. This is an enlarged parking lot, and then they'll be dropping off right along this side here. You can see the tennis courts being located over to the east. This is a new small building that will have some toilets in it, as well as some storage for that facility. The building itself, so this would be the main entrance here as you come into the building. Then we have two separated play areas. So this would be the younger play area over to this side, and they also will have access to the courts over here, the tennis courts. And then over here will be for the older kids. And so this pink and gray area is hard surface. We've got playground areas, and then currently have in the design for some turf located right here, as well as located in this small area here. Then on the back side of the building, this will function as the bus pickup and drop off. This comes to kind of the back entrance here. This is where deliveries would be for the kitchen in this back area. And then there's just a little bit of parking back here for staff as you kind of come around. As we talk a little bit more about the building itself, we wanted to make sure that part of the community was a part of this design. And so we really looked at, what are a lot of the really interesting and things that start to define Decorah, at least from a building structure and nature standpoint. And so we tried to integrate some of those into the building. This is elevations then of the building. Different sides of the building, the kind of north facade, which would face the road to the north. Then the east facade, which goes over towards the tennis courts. But ultimately, I think these kind of images show the building better. So up here in the upper left, this is facing the street. This is the two-story wing over here, which would have the older kids in the school located within it. Then as I work my way down here, library and space along that facade. This is the facade facing the west, which would be facing towards this building. There's two-story classrooms here. These are kind of what we call the treehouse pods, which are little pods located in the classrooms for reading and those different types of activities that happen in the classroom. Up in the upper right, you can kind of see the materials there. This lighter color is stone to kind of mimic the mill and the bluffs in the community. And then as I go down here, we've got the canopy entering the building here. And then this is the pre-K kindergarten wing over here, which is the kind of yellow part of the building. And that faces to the east. After this process, we currently are in the middle of creating construction bid documents, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tom that's going to talk a little bit about the schedule.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Thanks everybody for having me. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about timeline for the new elementary school. So there's kind of three tools that we kind of work off of, three facets to the schedule. Number one is what we call the level 1 schedule that you see in front of you here. It's the greater overall timeline for the project at large, coming from the end of referendum all the way through design. And then you can see where the gray turns into white there. Now we're in the process where we're starting to finalize the design. We'll come up with a final budget snapshot, create what we call the front end bid documents, where we where we write all of the scopes for all of the different hard bidders that will bid the project. So in other words, which aspects of the emergent documents go into which scope bucket so that there's no overlaps and no gaps. It's the most efficient way to bid a project. So then that covers the next basically 4 months, and then after bid, we'll get into the construction schedule. Here is a high level look. Again, we're still in the level 1 schedule for this visual aid, but high level look at how the construction will play out. And then another tool that we use is what we call the critical path method schedule to talk about construction. So it'd take us all the way through construction. So and then what you see here in front of you, this is the pre-construction milestone schedule. So it's those last 4 months that I was mentioning. This is broken down into a table of deliverable dates. So and I'll just kind of highlight the big ones here is with the current schedule, we're going to do our final budget snapshot to make sure that we know with confidence that the bids will come in on budget on bid day. That final budget snapshot happens at the end of November. Then we enter a pre-qualification process as per Iowa Code 26A. And that process will go from halfway through December till the beginning of January. And then right now the actual bid day is scheduled for January 22nd. And then once bids are in, we share all of that with the district. Then the district will finalize what we call the GMP amendment, the guaranteed maximum price, so that we know that the price will not increase. We have contingencies built in to encounter any unforeseen issues. And then we kick off construction, which will start the spring, March of 2026. It will go through the end of the summer, early fall in 2027 to make sure that for the 2027 school year, the new school is open and open for business. So yeah, I guess Nick, anything I missed schedule wise, or you want me to cover?
Nope. Very good.
Okay.
So we'd open it up for questions for any of us, or?
Sure. I'll open it to the council.
One of the things I didn't touch base on, there is a submission process that is being done right now where there's site plans, elevations, a bunch of this information has been submitted. And so that will go through a formal process to be approved by your team. So
What might be useful, Nick, if you can go to the overall site plan. I think most of the comments, questions received are going to be based on that. So it'd be good to have that visualization up. There we go. Thank you.
I noticed in the southeast corner there, you got the tennis courts. I know there's been a lot of discussion amongst the community members about a band shell type thing. Is that completely out of the question at this point in time? And this is what we're going with right here.
This is our plan. Band shell, our board hasn't made a decision one way or the other. We just kind of have this. So this is something that I know Jim's looking at.
Right.
It's my understanding Jim's desire is to put it in the southwest corner.
Okay.
So you notice that's where he wants to put it. I will say, when you look at that big rectangle, that's turf, which we've had really good success over at the middle school. And,
Right.
It just makes it so you can almost play every day outside. That's a bid alternate right now. So it's our desire to have turf there, but we may not be able to put that in just budget wise. We have to see what the bids come in at. That's a bid alternate.
Okay. Thanks.
I know at the location of that playground that it was noted that you're going to be doing some fencing. Can you explain what fences you are putting up?
Yeah. Go ahead. Nick.
You want me to do that? You can kind of see that on the plan here. As I kind of trace it, right here is a gate that comes in here. The students would be exiting the building either from this location or this location.
Okay.
And so this gate, this line right here would be the fence. You can see the trees that are being located right here, which are part of the plan, are just on the outside of that fence. And so that fence comes around, it comes down here. There's a gate here to allow students, if they're dropped off, to be able to kind of make their way to the back playground. And then over here, we've got a fence that comes up, comes around here. There's doors that come out of these classrooms directly, because those are the pre-K classrooms on the north side there. The fence continues over, closes off that space. And then it's, of course, around the tennis courts. And then on the south side here, along this space all the way over to here. And then there's also a connecting sidewalk, which connects you back over to here. So if you are dropped off by the bus, you would be able to make it over to this other playground as well.
And
Is it-
fences on playgrounds kind of serve dual purposes. Obviously, there's a layer of security there to keep people out, like during recess times and stuff, but also just protects the children who are playing with stuff. I just went to John Klein last week and a ball rolled out. And as I was pulling in, I kind of stopped, and the little guy did a great job. He wasn't going to go because they told him, don't run after your ball. But sometimes when you're in the heat of the motion, there's no fence there. The ball just goes. And I was pretty proud of that little guy for stopping. But schools I've been at, we always have fences, and that's one of the things it does.
And is it still an 8-foot fence? And why 8 feet tall?
At this time, I think it's proposed to be 8, but I think in some locations proposed to be shorter. Some of that has to do with it's a bit more of an urban site, and as Tim was talking about, with balls and those types of things, like protecting that, there's going to be, the adjacency of some of these fields and stuff. It's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I mean, an 8-foot fence is a big fence, and I don't want our children to feel like they're in prison. And also the allusion to that it's not a community space, right? I mean, an 8-foot fence is like keep out. And, I can see the balance between, yeah, to me, an 8-foot fence is excessive. And I guess from my perspective as a council person, the bond is huge. And the more that you can do to make sure that costs are kept to where they need to be, as opposed to like, this is our whole want list, because we also have other city needs and people are watching all of this in close proximity to needing a fire station and all the other needs around Decorah. And so I guess my ask of the school district as I look at this plan is something I thought about in the gym discussion as well. What do we need to offer the best educational setting we can for our children? I love the sustainability aspects of it, but are we just adding things because we can, because we have this really big bond, or are we adding them because we really need them? And I'm not going to nitpick the plan and tell you where to do that and where not to do it, but it is, as I see it as a council person, those are the ways in which I would be critical or looking for the school to really hammer in on those things.
Yeah, Emily, can I tail onto that comment? I think it's a great one. Emily's getting at a concern I have with the site plan, and that's our work here today is to look at the site plan and eventually to consider it for approval. When I look at it, I see sort of I read this in the frame of the conversation that's been happening between school board and city council and community members for a lot of years. In particular, I remember a joint meeting with the school board a few years ago where we finally actually came to terms and we all negotiated after the fact. We asked our staff to negotiate in good faith on our behalf as well as they could. That's, and I want to actually thank both Tim and Travis, because I don't think that this project gets across the line without those two representing their boards as well as they could. And in turn their community. So thank you so much for that, for getting us this far in the project. I'm incredibly excited about it. What I'm not excited about is that in that conversation, in that agreement that we all reached several years ago, there was a strong sense and commitment, assurances made to the council that that this place would be designed with an eye toward reciprocal connections between school and community. And when I look at this plan, I see elements of that, and I really appreciate the places where I see them. The great sidewalking that connects to some of the trails we're bringing onto campus, and the fenestration is great. The windowing is really nice. You know, I'd hate to see like a big brick edifice that would make it feel prison-like. In addition to the fences. But I do see things that bring me some concerns where I feel as if maybe the tail wagged the dog a little bit on this design. You know, that if you start your plan by saying, you know, even though we told the council we're going to move the building as far to the east as possible, we're going to make sure the west end of the campus is community serving green space. There's honestly not room to do that once we've decided we want a big competition gym. We want 100+ parking spots for a staff of how many? You know, when you do that, and at the end you say, well, you know, there's just no room left for all those things that we talked about 2 years ago when we had a good faith conversation. I just want you to know it's alarming to me, startling and frustrating. And I think that there's a lot in this plan that I think there's easy fixes. If we're going to go forward with some version that ends up looking a lot like this, I hope we consider some pretty basic things that we could do to restore that community access. But I think overall, and I think Emily's right, this isn't the place for us to do design by committee and move lines around on paper. So I'll just say this. The reason I ran on trying to create space for an elementary school in downtown Decorah is because I think it's deeply important that children be educated in the context of the community where they are. And I think it's deeply important to the community to be fed by the presence of children learning and engaging in their community right in the heart of our downtown. It's truly the center of who we are as a people, is to educate our children and rear them up. And so I think it's just appropriate that we do that in the center of our community. I don't want to do it in a way that makes it feel like it's isolated from our community as much as is possible with locks and fencing and I guess a sense of inaccessibility. So I would prefer a plan that had a path that connected North Street across the campus to the high school somehow. I would prefer a plan that had shorter fencing. I understand that there are safety concerns and logistical concerns with playground balls bouncing, you know, into the street. I'm less concerned about the safety concerns unless someone can show me that an 8-foot fence prevents kidnappings that 4-foot fences don't. I don't think anyone has that data because I don't think it exists. I am concerned that some of the sidewalking seems to sort of be there because, you know, you need to have sidewalks. And yet, if I imagine myself as a 5-year-old walking down some of these sidewalks right next to, you know, parked cars 4 feet above my head, I'd like to see bollards, barricades, or separation, something to create separation between cars parking and people walking, especially young children. I'm concerned at the choice, and you know, maybe it's the best choice that you could make, but a bus drop-off lane that crosses a pedestrian path twice creates a lot of opportunities for conflicts that could devastate community members. And I'm wondering, and I'm hoping that there was an alternative consideration for a pull off for buses in the right of way that could drop them off right on a California curb or something. So those are my general comments that to me, this plan is like a really great plan in a lot of ways. I'm concerned that some of the choices that were made to make sure you had as much parking as you could possibly want, or squeeze a competition gym in there, I'm concerned that that gets us away from some of the original agreements and conversations that we had at the very beginning to make this a place where school and community come together.
One,
Can I just get clarification? The one thing about path to northern campus, what, just help me understand that.
Yeah, you know, and I'll say this. So in some of the earlier renditions, and my memory of this isn't perfect. I might actually ask for some help from staff here and from others. But in some of the original renditions, the sort of the faint pink line that leads from, you know, across the North Alley parking lot. Do you know what I'm talking about here? I can, well, it doesn't matter. There's a faint pink line that goes right into the middle of the building mass, the white building
Yep,
mass.
further to the east.
This one,
Right there.
this one.
Yeah.
There you go.
So in some long ago renditions that we were shown when we were like, hey, this is looking really good so far, that was the connection between that North Alley parking lot, this revitalized space, and the campus. And that went away. And I understand that things evolve and change, and there's more factors being considered than what makes one council member happy. I'm glad, by the way, that that's true. But that connection that created between the community via the passway through the Bank of the West to downtown, that's absent now. If I'm at a high school event and I want to get downtown, I've got to walk, all the way down Claiborne to the roundabout, navigate that and get downtown, or I have to walk to the far east side of the campus to get there as well. I know that maybe it's naive or idealistic or too optimistic to say, hey, like what if there was a community connection or a way for people to navigate across the campus instead of forcing, circumnavigation to anyone who was scared to, climb over an 8-foot fence or whatever. I think that I wish that some of those elements had remained, not just on the drawing board a year ago, but had found their way into this plan.
I think part of it too was, again, in those sort of community, and I want to echo what Steve said, right? I mean, I also am someone who ran for council with this in mind, right? I had been on shareholders for almost 8 years prior to this. Building this elementary school has been on my bucket list and idea and part of the negotiations that we made in good faith. I do think that part of that included, right, the racket complex up at Luther that then fell by the wayside when you decided to say we're going to keep the tennis courts as they are, which just carves out even more of this land that makes a smaller potential for community space. So it's just the numerous things, competition gym, keeping the tennis courts there, moving the building over, that I feel like have eroded what was a compromise of community space in this area. And that was the drawing that we had that had the path through there wasn't a full set of tennis courts because we had this agreement that they would be elsewhere in a racket sport complex together. So things change and I get that. But I feel like I would be doing disservice if I didn't express my concern about it, given that we had a meeting together about North Alley. What was that, 2 years ago? A year and a half ago? 2023, that really was this sort of like more shared, right? Bringing this site into the community more than it does. Right now, it does feel very isolating. But I would echo, I mean, I think Steve said most of what I would feel.
I think I just want a point of clarification. And if you're looking at the parking lot, this would be in the darker gray. And then your cars are parked right. Is there a barrier between where the cars go in and park and the sidewalk?
Here, she's talking right here.
So like if the cars, let's say if they got too close, they'd take part of the sidewalk. You see what I mean?
You're saying that you're worried that if they park in here, then their overhang is going to be in the front?
Well,
Over the front? Is
because
that what you're saying?
if I'm looking at the parking spaces, they drive in, they park, and the front of their car will be right by the sidewalk, correct?
Yeah, this sidewalk, I believe, though, looking at it, you can see that it's widened compared to this sidewalk over here. And I don't have the sidewalk widths memorized to
Okay.
know, but I believe that this sidewalk is itself a large sidewalk, which I believe is 7 feet, and I believe this one might be 10 feet wide. This one right here.
But there isn't any barrier that protects the car
would be a
from
curb.
curb or
There'd be a curb,
something
Sure. Yep.
I was just
that
gonna,
protects the car from going into the sidewalk.
Yes.
is that black line there? Is that a wall? Or is that part of the wall that you were talking about too as well?
This would be curb right here, that piece right there.
Okay,
Right, but I mean, all the way along there, is that black line, is that part of the wall that you were talking about?
no, I
would
think
be-
that's curb.
No wall. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just curb right there.
Okay.
This area would be open. These kind of darker pieces here are handicap ramps to get from the lowered parking lot up to the sidewalk area.
And then just a point of clarification, as far as tennis courts being at Luther we never actually made any, can you clarify to me if we actually, that was a possibility or if it never came to fruition?
So it was a possibility, yes, but did not ultimately come to fruition.
I just-
Conversations changed. Yeah, it was a possibility, but no, it didn't come to fruition, obviously.
I did kind of think that. So my other question is over in the west side where there is the synthetic turf play lawn and the hard court play, is there a fence around those as well?
Just this perimeter fence located here by.
Can you
by
verbally
Street.
tell me, because I think I can barely see where the arrow
Yeah,
is.
it's coming around here. It's kind of follows that tree line right there. You can kind of see it. And certainly the height, and that's possible that the diagram meant to say
I see.
meant to say 6 feet instead of
So
8
that is
feet,
the
but
dark area, correct?
yes,
dark
that
line.
that one actually, that dark line, and
Okay.
again, it's a scale thing, and these things are in the submission plans for you to look closer at.
Okay.
Which I'm assuming you also have a group that kind of looks closer at some of these things.
And I mean, I think ultimately on us, right? You came to us and I appreciate that to hear our feedback on the plan. But as council members, we're going to weigh in on the site plan. So height of fence would be one thing, obviously, but not what is in the building. Obviously, that is school board only. So I'm offering these only as perspectives as a council person based on conversations that we'd had. But ultimately, these things don't go into consideration when the site plan is ultimately approved or not approved.
I think the other two, the connectivity of being able to get from North Street or wherever, which one of that is, and to be able to walk out and go across and then work your way over to the high school also. I agree with them. When we look at that North Alley, we've done a lot of different studies as far as how that could look. Now if I were queen, obviously I'm not, and not until the end of September, or, December. But, we talked about being able to develop that Hively area behind, potentially where there would be more access for getting from Water Street through and then going through Hively over to the school and then being able to access that in some fashion.
I mean, all those drawings were part of our joint effort when we did the North Alley discussions, and I think that those diagrams are available still somewhere.
I think Bolton and
Yeah,
Make North
yeah.
Valley plan.
And I think that's where a lot of us sort of had this idea of how do we create a space that is school space and community space and make that bridge.
I think we actually talked about how like through the bank area there, you have that access way that gets into the North Alley and stuff like that. And then like making that connection through all the way to the high school, some way traversing through that area there.
One question I have operationally, and it's more for the planning and design along Hively. So you talk about bus drop off and parent drop off. So operationally, there's a number of kids that walk. Take a picture while I'm using air quotes. But right. But and the reason I use air quotes of walk is 9 out of 10 of those parents, they walk their kid up to North Alley parking lot and they get in a car and drive away. So for your walkers, operationally, are they going to be dismissed from the northeast door where the parent pickup with the cars are? Bus, no idea yet.
Well, I would say some of that's gonna be fluid, but buildings, other schools that I've been at, we've always tried to separate bus from everyone else.
Okay.
Because we can usually, first of all, bus drivers, like if we say drop off in the back of the school, they don't care. There's something about the front of the school for parents, that's important, and that's why cars want to go there. This is my non-peer reviewed research in my life at, elementary schools for 31, 35 years. Parents like to drop off.
Can you
car
step
ride-
a little closer to the mic for the online?
So parent drop off in the front, and I assume walk in the front.
Okay.
Now, would it evolve ever where we might have a crossing guard and allow some walking in the back? That to me is, we got to see how it works a little bit before we get going. But the big thing for us is bus drivers in the back, that just gets everything moving faster. And then that'll make, Claiborne work better too, because we won't have buses pulling in.
Mhm.
So.
But there is also quite a bit of parking in the bus drop-off gray area, correct?
No, I think there's 16 stalls back there, 12 or 16, just on the south side of that.
So the main reason I ask again is, if you're dismissing walking students out that south door, that connection between the building and North Alley, I think is even more important, because you're gonna have a lot of parents
Mhm.
parking in North Alley south of that door and walking across Hively Street there. So that was my main question.
And when you talk about connection and we talk about the bank, you're talking about like with that existing structure would have to be a pass through.
Well, I'm talking even further west, so that just that crossing of where you got your driveway entrances and where it intersects with Hively,
Like where the
Yeah.
farmer's market.
right,
It's
where
kinda
the
like it.
farmer's market is today. That area is going to be queued up with parents. If walkers are dismissed from the south side, all those parents are going to park in North Alley, walk across Hively, wait at the door, pick up their kid, walk back across Hively, get into the car and leave. Just trying to solve what operationally is just going to happen if they're coming out the south. Now, if they're coming out the north, I don't know what that solution looks like, all that angled parking along Claiborne. Who knows? Maybe that gets lightened as a result of the increased parking available on site. But most of that parking is not going to be available on that north side of the site.
How many more parking spots does this have now than currently at John Klein?
Are you talking about John Klein only as a school, or are you talking about with the ball fields included?
You're talking the gravel
Or
lot?
just,
Are you talking the gravel lot? Are you talking about on the site as a total, or
Yeah,
for
no.
serving the school?
No, serving the school.
Yeah, I believe there is, if you look on here, there's 92 parking spots over in this area. And there is 13 parking stalls in this area. 288 stalls too, there's 15.
105.
What's that? 15 plus 288, yep, and there's 488 over here.
And how many are currently at John Klein?
John Klein currently has about 40 stalls, I think, on the front side of the school on that one half.
So what was the increase in parking for of this degree?
The parking towards the backside is for staff. The parking towards the front side would be for some staff and then parents as they come and drop off, as well as for events located either in the tennis courts or located at the high school.
So they're no longer parking in the places that they currently park at? I mean, has there been a parking problem in terms of like those events?
Well, first of all, I'd back up and say one of the goals was to have parking for staff every day in a lot.
you're gonna have to step up right to the mic. Thank you, Tim.
One of the goals was to have the teachers, the staff that work at the building be able to park in the parking lot. And if you go by now, we do a funky thing where Joyce gets there in the morning and she kind of starts a little strip on the side and makes it one lane. But some people do have to park in what we call the bank lot, which also is shared with the students. And this is gonna close West Side, so we're gonna bring those staff over. Not a lot, but that's gonna chew up 5, 8 more people needing parking spots. So I don't feel like we have enough now for just during the day for staff to park in a parking lot. So
No,
that was one of the things. And then I would say any extra parking spots, they go all the way up. The students go up to Decorah Avenue to park. But if you come for a game, sure. We usually park Hively and just walk from there. So I would say one of the places we might park when the gravel lot's gone next year, or when this is done, would be, you're kind of trading some of the gravel parking for the parking lot and back, if that makes sense. But events, yeah, parking's at a premium for events.
We
Okay,
were just looking at an aerial, and so you said 40, are you counting like along parallel along the parking? So
All of
painted,
this,
painted parking looks to be about 20.
all of these over here pretty much are existing, I think. So that might be closer to, is that, yeah, it might be 20, 25. I just going off of the numbers that were kind of given to me.
Gotcha.
Existing parking lot was about 40.
So am I correct? We're increasing parking 125%? So there's 125% increase in parking from what we currently have.
Minus the
And-
gravel lot,
the
which I
school-
think
what
you
the
got to count
school
that.
has. Yeah, right.
Just to be fair.
I think we've had two councilmen, maybe three. Can we hear from some of the other council people?
I really don't have a whole lot of questions on it. I think most of the questions that I had have already been answered and addressed. I do have, obviously opinion about the parking, I always joke with my family that the school always plans basketball games and then orchestra concerts and all these things at the high school at the same time. And sometimes there is no place to park and people are walking long distances at night in the dark and the cold. And so, having some of that extra parking, in my opinion, is kind of a positive thing on that. Outside of that, yeah, I think most of the, basically the questions that I had or the comments I had have already been kind of spoken on.
Have you spoken? Did you speak? Okay. Randy?
I really don't have a whole lot to. I mean, I'd rather have seen us build on the edge of town so that
I
we
know.
wouldn't have these parking issues.
I hear
Every
you.
new school I've gone to has been out on the edges and
That's not an option.
facilities, so,
I understand.
and that is an issue because we do attend a lot of high school events and parking is definitely a troublesome issue, so.
Okay,
And
Cody?
I'm kind of in the same boat with Brent. Pretty much everything has been spoken on. I haven't been on council long enough to be a part of the earlier conversations on this. The design looks really cool and I'm excited for a new school. I do also echo the amount of community needs that we have. So if we can cut down on certain things to lower the cost, it's going to be important for the community to support everything that we need. But it looks great. I'm excited. I wasn't there for the earlier conversations, but I do like the community involvement element, like community spaces that both Steve and Emily have spoken on. All in all, I'm excited for a new place for elementary students to go though, and I think it looks great. So my lack of questions mostly come from my lack of involvement in the process. But I think they've all been good questions posed so far, so.
Okay. Is there anything else that,
I just want to say that it's easy to sort of get in these meetings and like feel like, oh no, we just talked about the things where there's issues, but that's the nature of these conversations. I think that the big takeaway that I hope, we're all feeling is like, we almost did it. Like we're almost there. And I'm really excited about an elementary school being built in our town. And I hope that we all walk away with that takeaway and like, you're not going to make everyone happy. I hope you all figure out a way to make me happier.
well, I think, one of my comments will be is, we're looking at everything that's on the outside. And I know when you've looked at the plans on the inside, you have requirements and needs, and there's been discussions of what's on the inside too. That's not our proof, that's yours. So I'm sure that it's not easy trying to fit everything all together and work. But I do think that there maybe could be a couple things that could help, with some of the stuff that we've talked about. I appreciate the hard work the school board has done on this. It's not easy, and we're moving forward, and we've got to continue to do so. So we'll look forward to seeing what's the next step, Travis.
So they have already submitted a site plan application. If they want to incorporate any comments from tonight, they have until the 10th to update those. We have provided feedback that some elements of the site plan submittal are going to request or require a variance.
Okay.
So that will go to Board of Adjustment. Basically, everything's going to catch November meetings. So
Okay.
November Board of Adjustment for a variance, November Planning and Zoning for its review of the site plan. And then the second council meeting in November is when you will see it next for site plan review.
Well, and I know I asked you too, especially in light of some of the things we've worked on at Hively, how those easements are worked in. But you reiterated that John and the school have been working hard together to make sure those are applicable for the Hively that's going to be changed also.
So I'm sure there's a number of things that have been identified initially on a staff cursory review that I'm
Okay.
sure are going to have to be contingencies, work to be carried out afterwards. For example, the city platted right of way actually, if it's not a variance request that it's actually amended that way, we should do it right. State Street there on the north end as it tees in with Claiborne.
Mm-hmm.
The original plat of that area is a sweeping turn to the west, which was part of the original street design there. And so the city's right of way actually catches like that whole northeast corner of the block. And so getting that cleaned up, that's one of our goals with this process as well.
Okay. Yeah, I trust the engineers for that.
Real
Oh.
quick, I got a question. We spoke about that, stormwater
Mm-hmm.
line. Is that
Mhm.
part, does that have to get moved?
That's
with this
part,
one?
correct.
Okay.
That is part of the site plan submittal. So it catches, Nick, if you can, I
Yeah, that,
explained at the last meeting, it's roughly where like second base is today. But where about at the building is it where you pick it up 10 foot off and then run north?
yeah, from this pond here coming back towards the city, it comes almost, well, it kind of comes straight across, and then it comes as a 45 across here, and then kind of connects into the end of this street. So it's coming this way, then it's getting a new pipe that's going around the building like that, and then connecting back in.
Okay.
I too just wanted to say that I think, Tim, you mentioned that it was like 16 years ago, they started this conversation to get this thing done. And from that point till 2023, when we had our conversation and you and Travis got together, in the last 2 years, we've come this far to get to this point. So I just want to reiterate what Steve was saying. I think we're 95% of the way there or even closer. So this criticism you've been hearing tonight has not been that this plan is going to get blown up or changed or anything like that. I think we're well on our way and we're almost there. So let's get it over the finish line.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate that too. This is our first chance that we've ever had to provide feedback, and I do think when we give feedback, of course, the criticism comes louder than the like, oh my gosh, we're there, and we're excited about it. And as I said, as I started tonight, the one thing I just think we all have to keep in mind as public officials, which we're staring at right now as we look at a bond. The Decorah community is a generous and giving community, but together between the school district and the city, we are going to together have a huge impact
Mhm.
on taxes. And everyone has their mind on that right now as our budgets get tighter. And so I do think that as you finalize plans, as you think about that, I do want to just reiterate the mindset of what are our needs, because the less of that bond that you spend, the more relief our taxpayers will get. And I think for us, we want, because we're essentially turning around and doing the same thing, right? We're going to ask for a bond and we're going to try not to spend the whole thing. Like that's what we're committing to our voters. And I hope that you will do the same thing in a partnership that allows our community to be as generous as possible, but also know that their public officials are saying, but we will look at what we need and not try to go to the gold standard of what we want.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming.
Thank you.
Okay. Highway 9 trail blasting and casing plan, 90% review. John Yellick. Hello, John.
All right, so we'll I'll pull up now that Nick's relinquished control. So as a reminder, the there we go. This project is actually an Iowa DOT bid project along Highway 9 that the city is able to add on to that bid. The DOT did kind of change some things on us. They reevaluated and called it a division of a project. So now there are some additional costs that the city is going to have to incur. We will have to pay separate mobilization, traffic control, other things that otherwise would not have been directly attributed to this project. So that is one thing I want to make sure we point out is there have been additional costs since we last talked about this project that have been identified. But with that, and as a reminder, the DOT has said that they will carry the costs of this project for 2 years. So it can go ahead and be bid. We'll know what the costs associated with it are, and then can budget over the next 2 fiscal years for paying the DOT back on that.
Are you gonna go over the difference in costs?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
we want to start with the good news, right? Then we go to costs. So, as John has put together, 90% review has been in constant communication with the DOT on what they will find acceptable to put as part of their bid project. Initially, it had a curb and gutter associated with the highway. They took that out. They said, nope, we're going to do a ditch, essentially. It does have 4 foot, 6 foot paved shoulder, 4 foot crushed rock shoulder, and then there's a 6-to-1 taper here that gets to the bottom of the ditch. So from the 6 foot paved shoulder, 4 foot crushed rock shoulder, 4 foot essentially grass, plus another 8 foot of grass before we start a 19-foot wide excavation. So that's where the future trail, and unfortunately the DOT made us take off where we showed the profile of where the trail would go in relation to that. They said, don't show future trail. We're not going to allow it. Our auditors will say, well, when's the trail happening? Anyway, so unfortunately, we aren't able to put it in the plans. All we can show is the area that we're going to blast away to allow for that room, and that's 19 feet wide. All right. Second here. John, anything you want me to hone in on that I should really be talking about before we get to cost on the trail portion?
Yeah, I got a question. I might as well ask a question. So we were pretty concerned about the safety along there. How does this, to me, it looks like this could alter the potential safety of people being on that, unless I'm missing something that's gonna put a barrier there. They
Mhm.
took out the curb and the gutter.
Yes, there's no curb and gutter anymore.
Okay.
And now it's all just shoulder, ditch, then back, more grass slope before you get to the trails. So there is no TBR. Is that the right acronym, John?
not TBR, temporary barrier rail. It would be concrete barrier rail.
would
There's
be a-
no, there's, that is taken out as per the decision of the DOT. So what they're doing is they're putting in a ditch there instead of the curb and gutter. And what that means is I they look at that as perhaps being a bit safer. Um, the, um, the clear zone is 22 feet and you have a straight through section of traffic there. You don't have vehicles making a corner or anything like that. So that is, you've got a standard boulevard in the city of Decorah is about 12 to 14 feet roughly. The clear zone from where the edge line of the traffic of cars is 22 feet away from where the edge of the trail would be constructed in the future. The 19-foot width in the future there allows for about a 5-foot wide talus capture zone. If you think about at the top of the cut, we've got those chain link fences there. The purpose of those is not to keep the people away from the stone. It's to keep the rock from tumbling down and spilling onto the trail and always having to broom it off. So we would be looking to do the same type of thing in this location. You have a talus capture area. If you drive along the Iowa 9 going up the hill towards where the old sunflower used to be, you can see kind of a limestone split face that's there, and you can see this talus that's built up over time as freeze thaw occurs and so on like that. Yeah, I mean, it's the Travis did a fairly decent job of explaining what you've got for.
He didn't do air quotes. Barely.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, John, can I just clarify something you said? So you're saying the ditch is safer than the?
That's what they are saying.
What are you saying? Can you tell me what you're saying?
No, I'm not gonna, I don't, yeah, to me, the distance, the clear zone is the safety thing. And
Okay.
that remains unchanged.
Okay, so it's really about how far away the two things are, not the barrier between them.
The advantage of having the V ditch there is, and they acknowledge this, and Travis pointed this out too, is that then that is theirs to maintain.
Okay.
If you have a curb, that becomes the city's to maintain. But the distance from the traveled corridor is what I see is the key to the safety of it. And like I say, it's a straight shot there.
Sure.
You don't have a lot of turning movements.
So when you say 22 feet clear zone, like on that diagram, it looks like that's to the edge of the blasting area, but the edge of trail would be in somewhat from that. Is that right? So is it more than 22 feet?
Yeah. So the blasting that is occurring there actually includes the 19 feet plus a little bit of that 8. You can see a faint gray line running up, and this is just a typical section here. So vertically there, yep. That is a typical section. And, we got 200 feet length of trail and so on like that. So there is a little bit of variability to it. But yeah, we're taking out that material there where the trail would be. Now, to help the safety of the existing public, right now they're walking on the paved shoulder, and this would provide them a non-motorized transportation link between Short Street and Park Street. It also opens up the visual lines from Park Street looking toward the east for the westbound traffic there. And part of the safety issue is the vertical curve, and I have no control over that. That's a DOT thing. But also that concrete barrier rail and that concrete and the bluff and so on like that. By taking that back, you're going to open up and improve the sight lines going to the east, and hopefully that makes it a little bit better, safer intersection. You still have multiple lanes of traffic that you're negotiating right there. So it's
To get back to your question though, Steve, I don't know if John quite got there. I think it would be back further than this vertical line here. So that's 19 feet. The trail's in here somewhere. So you got 5 feet from the toe. That would be that talus catching fence.
Oh, sure.
Then you've got the
Maybe 10 feet of
trail,
trail or
maybe 10
8.
feet of trail.
Yeah.
And then, so now you're at 15, you've got another 4 feet until you're to this line.
That's
here.
what I was
So you're
wondering.
at-
Is like the clear zone really going to be like 26 feet by the time we build a 10-feet trail next
Yeah,
time?
it'll be, it depends on where we set the fence, where we put the trail and so on like that, yes. There's some future design that has to be, thought through.
I suppose we could go into the cost.
We can jump right
I
into
don't think
it.
they want to tell us, Mayor.
Well, I just thought you don't
Well, we
have to
gotta
look
get
at.
there eventually,
Yeah.
so.
Hmm.
Yeah, so estimated costs associated with this project. John, you want to tell them?
It's always carried a price tag, even when we introduced this about a year ago, but I think it was 475 is what the total estimated cost is. I would say that it's a very difficult thing to estimate
Mhm.
the rock, the value of the rock that's being taken out and so on. So I sliced it up 4 different ways, and I've got quite a range of potential costs for what that is. Ultimately, it'll be whatever the bid comes in from the contractors. I don't anticipate this being going up, but it's easier to put out a number there and then have it potentially come down. And what I'm looking at is the rock that we blast would, just as it was done in the cut, they brought that up to Skyline Quarry, they crushed it up there, and then they sold the material. Now you say, oh, well, they're getting free rock from us. Well, not really. I mean, it's the same process of them blasting material. They have to haul it up there and crush it, and then they would sell it. And the sale of that material then actually reduces our unit cost for what we have there. I asked the DOT, I said, hey, we've got a project here in Hively Street. It's got some questionable soils. Can we use that material on Hively Street? Bring it over and stockpile it potentially? And they said, well, yes, but it's not very easy to do because this is federally funded. We would have to have a NEPA study done on Hively Street to understand what the historical features that are there, look at endangered species along Hively Street, do the whole 9 yards. So it becomes difficult. One of the things they suggested was, if you want to do that, you could talk to the contractor after the bids are in and see if they would be willing to stockpile material. Now, I don't know that really saves us money, to be honest with you, because you're handling the material twice or 3 times. You blast it, you bring it, you stockpile it there, and then you have to bring it up and put it in another location. So you're loading it up on trucks like a couple of different times, as opposed to if they were to take it to a contractor supplied waste area and deal with it on their own. And then they can look at within their, because this project will not be just one bid. This project is large enough that you're going to get PCI, you're going to get Skyline, you're going to get Chig-Fry, you'll get a number of bidders that are looking for big reconstruction projects. It'll have multiple bidders on there, and so the pencils hopefully are sharp. But when I'm putting this cost estimate together, I'm having to look at it and say, what are we potentially getting ourselves into? And that's the number I provided Travis. I'm optimistic that we're going to have something more competitive than that, but I have to be realistic about what it could be.
So your estimate was 475,000?
Hmm.
And did we have an estimate previous to the changes that were made here?
We did. We had,
That was 320.
that was one, yeah, one of the cost estimates. The
Okay.
early one in, November, I believe, was actually in the vicinity of 600,000 plus another. The water main was, I forget that cost, but there was quite a bit of cost with that. The $300,000 one, it was in the mid to upper 300s, was when we, took out the sidewalk, and we took, and what we decided there was that we would only do the blasting at this project, try to minimize what we have, and then apply for a grant later on to pay for the sidewalk, bike trail, and that end of the work. I've talked with Aaron Detter at Upper Explorer Land, and I said, hey, this is a pedestrian high-use area. What can we do? Can we get a grant? And they said, yes, you certainly can apply, but their funding cycle is about 5 years in advance. So we're looking at 2029, 2030, thereabouts, before a grant would potentially fund the blasting side of things.
So the 475 includes also including the sidewalk?
Pardon?
The force,
No,
okay.
it's not.
Okay, like, wait a minute.
No.
Is our responsibility for the full 475, or was the state picking up a portion of that? Or that was
The state said no, they would not take on costs associated with this, the blasting side of things.
Okay.
So it's about $150,000 more than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I forget, I don't know the exact
Be
numbers.
about that, yeah.
And we wouldn't have to pay it for 2 years, and then we have 2 years to pay it.
No. In 2 years, we could budget over the next 2 years and then have to pay it in that second year, essentially. So what I'm
Okay.
saying is we can budget over the next 2 years to get us in a position to make that payment, but DOT will carry it for 2 years.
Okay.
Mm.
When's the project start?
2026, it's supposed to be bid in January of 26.
Okay.
So in about 5 months from now. And then they would start construction then in the spring, summer. And it would, Highway 9, what they would be doing is sealing off 2 lanes at a time, running from just west of the concrete arch bridge that we have near the intersection of 952, going through the Short Street intersection, up the hill, past the Pleasant Avenue Bridge. They would shut down 2 lanes at a time so the road would remain open, and then reconstruct 2 lanes, and then cross over traffic onto the new pavement while they reconstruct the other 2 lanes.
I emailed Pete Helmstead, is that the name?
Helmstead.
Engineer at the Iowa DOT, and I sort of made 2 comments. I wonder, he's got an HJ name too. Is it an engineering thing? Is that like
It's yeah, us Norwegians.
Yeah,
just
well,
kinda
it was easy for me.
follow
So
things up.
I told him that, I thought the Iowa DOT, ought to not just pay for highway construction, but ought to pay for, this blasting, which makes turning traffic much safer. It also makes for much safer pedestrian route. I think it's a sort of sad statement on the priorities of our state Department of Transportation that not only did they not agree with me, and he was pretty clear that he thought that it's kind of our problem to pay for this part of it, but then they came back, and I hope this wasn't in response to my email, by the way, but that they came back and said, actually, we want you to pay for more of it. It already felt like a pretty close decision to me, and I think we ought to at least entertain the consideration of cutting bait on this one. I think I see the value of it in a world where we had $500,000 burning a hole in our pocket. This makes things safer for the people who are currently walking pressed between a Jersey barrier and the highway. That's a very dangerous thing, and we should take pains to stop it from happening. At the same time, if the DOT is committed to, you know, building a ditch and a little bit of a clear zone anyway, probably a lot of that pedestrian traffic in the future isn't pressed, you know, like just between the Jersey barrier and fast moving traffic. Or are you saying that that wouldn't happen if we cut bait on this?
If you guys pull the rug out, I'm not sure exactly what the DOT would do. My guess is that they would put the concrete barrier rail back in because there's just they're not changing their highway footprint at all. And any sort of ditch there is being created, the space for that is being created by what we're doing.
Okay. Well, I guess my point here is that even at the 400 some $1,000 number, like it literally, you know, it made me nervous because $400,000 can accomplish a lot of other safety enhancements in our city. We have a lot of roads that could use $400,000 in spending today. And I think we need to say, you know, not, is this a good project? Is this a project that will make things safer? The answer to both of those are clear yeses, but also, is this the best use of these funds? And I wonder if, you know, maybe this is an opportunity for us to re-ask that question. Is this worth it? Maybe the answer is yes, but I'm curious what you all think and what staff thinks. Part of what I think here is that, like, what we get at the end of this is the opportunity for people to walk a little more safely, but they're still pressed up against a rock wall with semis driving 45 to 65 miles an hour, 22 feet from them. And I got to tell you all, like, 22 feet is not very far. It's just not. I think I'm sitting about 22 feet away from, you know, from maybe Cary.
I couldn't agree more with you, Steve. I saw the same issues with it. Like you said, that 22 feet, or even if we get up to 26 or 28 feet, I mean, with a car moving that fast, I mean, it takes them what, a tenth of a second to cross that particular portion of the highway or to get off into that area like that. And we're only increasing this by what, maybe a block or two that we're providing pedestrian traffic to get down to that area to a couple different businesses and stuff like that. I couldn't agree more that there's probably better uses for almost $500,000 within our city budget to do other things that would be more
I think,
beneficial. And
I think the problem might be that we don't know that it's going to be 500,000. Right? I mean, that's the problem. We don't have a bid. So I feel pretty blind on this. I don't know, Travis, if you can give us a little bit more clarity based on, right? I mean, obviously,
So the hard part on this is, as John said before, bid prices within the last few years on the rock not quality, composition varies greatly from, I wanted to say, John, can you use the two extremes on the numbers, unit pricing wise? Not what we said, but the two extremes that you originally had told me.
Yeah.
All right, so they vary
So
vastly, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I'd rather not just, you know, put out numbers that are unqualified. But there is, the number that you have in front of you now, I am feeling as if that's the high end range of what we would be looking at. I think that you may see less, but I can't guarantee that. It's a very difficult thing to, because this is not like going and buying a pair of shoes, and you have a lot of options to choose from, all the different styles. This is a very unique thing where you're blasting out a hillside and having to figure out how to dig it up and haul it away and what to do with it and so on like that. Even the DOT doesn't do this a lot. They do some, but they're
there's no way to ask for bids before we commit to it.
that's typically not the way the DOT works on things. With this being a division, what they will do is they will take the project as a whole, and they will look at the total price of it and not just say, well, this division came in higher than what was expected or anything like
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, this isn't a typical project. It does seem like we could push back a little bit to the DOT and say that we need to at least be able to bid some aspect of it, because we could throw out, I mean, if we're throwing out numbers tonight and people want to bid on it, they're going to be like, oh, the city's willing to spend that much money. We don't want to spend that much money, but if we knew that a bidder was going to give it to us for, or be able to do the project for 350,000, 300, so that's a whole,
That's
it's a wide swath.
it is a wide swath, and that's where I'm coming at, is that this project is gonna, I believe, will have quite several bidders on it that will, because of the size of what the DOT's project is, that will help our project also achieve a more competitive number.
So if we, like, I guess what's our security? We have no security. This is a giant risk.
We don't really have securities that I'm aware of. I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've done a DOT tag on project in this fashion where it's a separate division. Usually it's, we already know what our, basically the previous involvements I've had, the DOT says, we are going to do this project. Here is your expected contribution. And it's usually on like the stormwater practices, manhole adjustments, curb and gutter. Because the DOT, as John said before, they say we are travel portion only for vehicle traffic. Everything outside of that, that's on you, city. So with that being said, this is my first time with a big project like this tagged on to DOT. And I think we are kind of in it for the long haul if we put it in their plans. I don't know that we have the ability to unilaterally pull our bid. One of the things that, and I'm not disagreeing with council members' comments on we need to evaluate the cost effectiveness of this, and is it the best bang for the buck on the pedestrian bicycle aspect of this project. The whole rationale, I'm just reiterating, the whole rationale that we looked at this now is the efficiencies we will gain by tacking it on to a DOT project, not just the ones John mentioned about having a much larger project, that there's going to be more attractiveness to construction companies, but we won't have to pay to have flaggers. We won't have to do lane. We won't have to do all of the otherwise required aspects of this project on our own. So if we were to decide to do this rock blasting after their project, we're having considerable more costs because now we're paying for all of the traffic control. We're having to apply for a permit from the DOT for lane closures and lane
Another thing
what
that
do you call it?
another couple of costs would be if you're blasting next to a brand new concrete road, you're likely going to experience some cracking in that brand new concrete road. So you're now having to replace the concrete in addition to whatever you're doing. So
Wouldn't the DOT
in some
have to-
ways, pardon?
Wouldn't the DOT have to replace it?
Yes, well, the
Oh, okay.
DOT is replacing it at this time, so they would be able to take out and do removals. We could do our work there, and then after we're done with any of the blasting, then they can pave their road and be done with it. If we allow them to go and pave the road right now, it's a brand new 4-lane concrete. We're blasting right alongside of it, and you're probably going to get some reflective cracking coming through on your concrete pavement adjoining that. So we would have to figure out a way that we would account for that. So in some ways, this is a kind of a generational opportunity. It was built in 1960, and I don't know that it's this opportunity will come again for another 70 years, I guess.
Yeah, we get that point that it's do it now or probably it won't happen. It's 500,000 now or it's $1.5 million down the road. I sort of understand that. I'm curious, could we, is there a pressing time? It seems like there's some new information that came to us tonight. It might be worth us having a chance to do our own research, to maybe have a chance to talk to you if we have questions, or to Travis, and maybe we can bring this back in a couple weeks? Or is it important that we decide things tonight?
We could probably, the latest would be 2 weeks. When's the deadline for Iowa, for the DOT's submittal?
They, they're wanting their plans here, as soon as they can get them.
So
I was thinking it was November though, was.
Oh, well, no. But they have a long lead time in advance of that. So their final plan turn in is, you're right, in November.
Right.
But in advance of that, then they have a series of reviews, for their different, divisions and so on like that. And off the top of my head, I think maybe the 2 weeks would be, I could ask them and talk to them and see if that's a possibility.
I would say so. I mean, I know when I give a deadline, that's typically the deadline for submittal.
Okay, but I have a question. So they're going to take this to bid. They have not taken this to bid.
Correct.
That's what they need to do. That's why they need from us, because they need to know what they're taking to bid. Correct?
Correct.
So I guess it's worth the ask. Can you submit a bid? Can you get companies to bid? And you're talking the bid would be from Skyline, from PCT, and from other people, right? You're saying that the DOT is going to get a wide swath of bids. We would assume, right? Much larger than we ever get on council in Decorah. So I guess it would be worth the ask to me to say to the DOT, look, you're asking the city essentially to take a really big risk and to say, we want to do something we don't know the cost of. And it's not, I can't see how it'd be a big deal to say, give us a separate bid, right? Give 2 bids, give the bid with the blast and without the blast, bring it to us, and then we say go or no go.
Make the ask as a completely separate division that's an alternate
Yeah.
award.
Yeah, I mean, can't government work together? Like, I mean, honestly, this seems like it can't hurt to ask, and we can't. I agree with Steve. Like, it's hard to say, we need to redo Palisades Road, right? That's also generational, and I really don't want to see that close. So, $500,000 is a lot of road work. I also can appreciate, like, this is in our lap right now, and sometimes you have to make decisions based on what is in front of you. But if the fix could be to ask them what the final bid is going to be, that at least gives us more information.
When I look at it too, currently, it's not safe to be walking along there, period, correct?
I don't,
Is there
I've seen-
anybody?
I've seen
using-
people-
Is there anybody using that? Do anybody?
I
walk
had seen
along
people
there?
walk along there. It's nuts. You shouldn't.
But do they, and one of my things is if you're putting money into something, is that really going to be safe, even if you blast? If how safe is it going to be? And can you put that money someplace else?
I think if you blast, it's going to be safe,
That-
right? It's
that-
going to be like any other.
That would be
portions of-
my question as well. I mean, the whole idea behind this project is to make a safe pathway for people to get down from the hotels to down to a few businesses down below and stuff like that. That's the whole purpose of the project. And given the new details that we're getting tonight, is it
Yeah,
truly
sure.
going to be a safe pathway? Or with trucks traveling at 45, 50 miles an hour, are we just asking for trouble by putting people thinking it's a safe pathway and it's actually not?
I don't think that where we're talking would be any more or less safe than anyone at the intersection going through that intersection over to to Hy-Vee. I mean, right, that you're walking along that area. Essentially, if we don't do something like this, we're cutting off a section of town. Like, that section of town is very hard to get anywhere because there aren't sidewalks. So I do feel like this would help with connectivity.
I agree with that. I think the distance would be safe, much safer than it is now, but also I think looking at other parts of the pre-existing bike path, we don't have nearly that amount of space between traffic and where it's at. So I think that would be safe. Also, would we be able to, you think we'd be able to do like a crushed lime or anything on that until we could actually pave a trail? I know this is kind of sprung on you.
well, that's what you see, the shot rock that's there.
Yeah.
It's got fines in it.
Okay.
It's not intended to be graded, smooth as a, like a permanent trail or anything like that, but
Mhm.
I guess that's something that could be added on there for minimal expense. There's some maintenance associated with having to keep the gullies from eroding on that type of material, but it's something that could be looked at.
Short
So-
answer is it's not a trail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really,
Well, that's what I was trying to see if we could like move the time up for usability so that it would be used, but not have to pave it into a super professional trail at the time, but still being able to use it. But I get what you were saying.
So one of the things I'll point out is, so this is 4% crushed rock shoulder grade. That's this shape, 1.5% less cross slope. Like right now they're walking on this over here. Well, there's actually a gutter line along
Right
there.
now, it's all paved right to the concrete barrier rail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is this is going to be this condition is going to be such that somebody could easily walk along this as opposed to
On the highway.
on the highway.
I won't be here on the 20th. My take is, let's push the DOT to get, I'm risk averse. So let's push the DOT to try to get us an actual bid. If they can do that, then we could look at it. I don't know that I want to take a $500,000 gamble, but I won't be here on the 20th. So that's just that's where I would weigh in.
Sounds like I'm coming back in 2 weeks.
we haven't really taken a straw poll whether we should do this project or not.
I think Steve wants to come back.
Well, it sounds like that's harder. I'm way less optimistic than you, Emily, about the DOT's flexibility to changing up their bidding plans. I mean, it's a large organization that it's not well known for its flexibility.
Yeah.
Is
It
that
really
fair to
doesn't
say?
care about this part of the project. And I say that as in, if it's not the
You're right about
travel
that.
portion.
Okay, let's
Maybe
hear
they want
from,
us to do it.
I
How about-
agree, it doesn't hurt to ask. The DOT is not a travel portion, not our problem.
I want to hear from Brent and Randy.
I'm gonna try to tap into Mayor Borowski's positiveness on this, that they're gonna work with us, but I highly doubt that's gonna happen. With that, I'm kind of leaning towards Steve as far as like, I get the point. One thing that's kind of unfortunate is I do think that this is a now or never situation. If it is now, that means that we are gonna have to come up with more funds to eventually finish that as well. So there's even a cost that's gonna come after that. Because if we're gonna spend $500,000 to blast that out, we're basically saying that we are gonna look at eventually finishing that, or else it's all for naught anyways. And I don't even know how much that would even be at some point. So
Okay.
I do think that the DOT is not gonna work with us well. If they do, I'm great. I'm willing to entertain that. But if they're not, it's not a gamble that I want to take.
Randy?
I'm actually excited about it because this was one of our original routes when we were looking at the bike trail to get people off the trail going over the bridge into town so they start spending money. Because realistically, our bike trail does not go past our businesses here in town. And this was one of the avenues that we originally looked at. I think it was actually on the other side of the street by the Fairfield, and getting them down there, and then they could make their decision to go to Central Mall or come into town. But also clearing that sight line when you're coming off Park Street to the traffic coming up the hill. That would be huge. And I just want to ask Chief Tyne, how many accidents do we have where people hit those barriers coming up the hills?
I couldn't give you a number. I haven't had them since I've been here, but
I mean,
That hit the concrete barrier rails.
yeah, I
Okay.
had some, but
okay.
All right. So for those on Zoom, the answer was some, but can't tell an accurate number.
But yeah, I mean, this is just one where it is a large chunk of money, but if it makes everything safer, and you know, it makes it a little shorter loop too for some folks. They can ride from the campground out around and get back on Doug Road and get through some of our commercial areas so that they can enjoy the city off their bikes. So
So does it sound like bring it back in 2 weeks?
All right.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Will it be a vote or it's always going to be a straw poll?
What?
So we can structure this one as a vote.
Well, I'm just wondering because I mean, you can tell me the information, I can give you it, but if it's going to be a vote, then
Yeah, we'll structure it as a vote.
Okay.
I think she was saying she'd prefer it wasn't a vote.
no. Either way, it's fine. I'm just whether or not I'm going
No.
to weigh in on it.
So right now we're just in the review phase. That's
Yeah.
why this
Yeah.
isn't structured as a vote. But the actual like going out to bid for any other project we would do requires a vote.
Can I ask a question? Just because it weighs into my decisions about things like this. What is the plan for Palisades Park Road? And like, is that something that we need to be putting on in our mind as we're making decisions like this?
Palisades Park Road, as in like up and through the park.
Uh-huh.
If that cost $500,000 to fix, I'm a no on this.
Yeah.
That is honestly how I'm sort of thinking about decisions like this, and which is why I just need a little bit of, like, if you're on that road lately, it's horrible. Like
Oh,
the
it is.
pothole, it feels like the road is going to be closed soon. And I'm just curious. We don't talk about it. I know we can't right now, although I can't make decisions if I don't know where that road sits.
The only thing
That'd
that,
also be a question for the park board on whether we do that or not as well.
the only good thing is it slows the traffic down going through there.
So that's a park board. That's not us. That's a park board.
Yeah, I don't think technically it's a city street, so it's park board.
What, going up the hill?
Palisades Park Road,
Do we have an estimate for what it would cost? Just curious.
not to my knowledge.
Hmm.
Hasn't been talked
Okay.
about, no.
Well, we'll discuss this again in 2 weeks.
Fascinating.
Okay, consent agenda.
All right, into the actionable items.
Yeah, right into the
Nobody
regular
loves it.
meeting.
Item A, minutes of the September 15th, 2025 council meeting. B, claims. C, Class C retail alcohol license renewal at the Landing Market. D, holiday lights updated special event, helping services for youth and families. E, tax abatement at 562 Mossman Drive, new construction, John Lowe. F, tax abatement at 709 Washington Street, Unit 2, new construction, Carol Larson. G, pay application number 3 for Decorah 2025 Carlson Park Gateway Trail Improvements Project. And H, reappointment of Mark Falbett to the tree board.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Parker seconds.
Motion by Olson, seconded by Parker. Any further discussion? Gesundheit. Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Zittergren,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Neal.
Hi.
Motion carried. Consider resolution approving agreement for dark fiber lease in Decorah right-of-way by Interstate Power and Light Company. Can you give background on that, please?
Yes. So the city received a request from Interstate Power and Light Company, Alliant, to consider a resolution authorizing their ability to enter into a dark fiber lease agreement with a third party on existing fiber strands that are used currently to connect their own system. So this lease would allow that third party, again, using Alliance Fiber Internet infrastructure as a pipeline to get from point A to point B. This does not allow additional fiber to be built solely for lease purposes. So Interstate Power and Light or Alliant can't just build out more fiber network and then lease it out. It's part of their existing infrastructure for their electrical operations.
So they want to lease their fiber to a third party.
Correct.
And that third party then is going to service their, like, I don't understand that.
It doesn't even
relationship.
have to come into just Decorah. It's to even get through Decorah. So there are like 70 cities that this request was made of so that they could enter into a lease for potential third party to get even through a city, let alone into a city. So if they, hypothetically speaking, if there was a proposal to build out a fiber network in Decorah to create an additional internet service provider. This would require a separate telecommunications utility franchise agreement from that entity. So that doesn't authorize anybody to also do a build out here.
So for us, this doesn't change anything for our fiber network.
Correct. No,
And so will they pay us for this?
no,
Why?
don't ask me.
Well, can we ask them to pay it for it?
We'll
I
get
mean-
there.
Okay.
So, city staff and city attorney have provided comments back to Alliant after initial receipt. And actually, I think we've gone back and forth on this, looking back, I think nearly a year, if I remember right. So, we went back and forth to make sure there were a number of, things changed in the agreement that would meet code requirements. Also added that the proposed agreement that allows for the third-party lease, but that the associated lease and revenues are not considered part of the electric system itself. So they are separate. Again, Mike Widener with Alliant will be in attendance to answer any further questions, such as, will they pay us?
What is it? Can you explain what the lease is needed for?
Sure. Let me give you like the 3-minute drill, just because I know time is of the essence and you have quite a lengthy agenda after me. So we built a fiber optic network up here in the northeast corner of the state. It comes in at Prairie du Chien and Dubuque, and it kind of goes up through Waukon to here to Decorah. From Decorah, it kind of comes down through Vinton to Cedar Rapids. The other wing comes in through Dubuque, kind of makes its way over to Cedar Rapids. And then we have a spur that goes from Cedar Rapids to Ames. So between the Iowa portion and the Wisconsin portion, we have about a 600-mile fiber loop. And like Travis said, we're using, of the 144 strands in the cable that we have, all but about 48 are in use or reserved for future use. So because our franchise agreement with the city allowed us to install this for electric and energy delivery, we need to get a second clearance to use this for third-party use. So this is not something that we would be looking to lease to like you as a homeowner or you as a small business owner. This would be something for somebody that would have really data-heavy needs, that would want to transmit a lot of data over a long distance. And we're just basically supplying the pipe. They're connecting on both ends and then putting stuff through.
So, like,
it. So
A data center in Cedar Rapids wants to get their data up here. They might contract with you to use your lines?
they might, one in someplace else might be trying to connect another one. I'm a member of the community development team, but I'm kind of like a liaison to the fiber team and have learned just like that much. And it's kind of scary about how the fiber world works. Like in Cedar Rapids by Big Cedar, where Google and QTS are building a rail yard somewhere around there that has a fiber line that goes all the way to Chicago. That is kind of like the big pipe kind of a thing. So for some people, they might want to connect to us to get to another facility. Some people might want to connect to us to break off of us to get to another pipe kind of a thing. Some customers would want to use this for backup. Some people would want to use it as their primary. We may have like, say, a cable company, you know, during our pilot phase, we had 3 cable companies that hooked up to it. There's, I think Mount Horeb has 2 cities and Comilac has 1, where they're basically using this to provide broadband speeds to the community. So some of it is an economic development use. Some of it is just like a ISP or somebody. I know we've been talking with the city on this for about a year. And we understand that your build out is important to you. For us, we're just looking to get clearances to be able to pass a signal through town.
And will you charge people to use your fiber?
The people who charge the leases, these are going to be like 20, 25-year leases for bulk quantities over a substantial distance.
Mhm.
That money then goes back into our general fund to pay expenses. And our goal here is that we can minimize customer expenses. So we're not spending money on other stuff and then somehow need to have a rate increase in the future. This would be something that would offset future customer costs.
Mike, I appreciate you talking to me today about some of these things. I noticed the last line in your council action requested, while the agreement does not provide immediate direct benefits to the city, it poses no harm and may offer future advantages. Could you address some of those potential future advantages? that
Well,
could-
first off, just as customers, I mean, it's going to offset future expenses that the company's going to have. So those are expenses we won't need to raise rates to pay for. The other one is just simply, we're going to have a system through town. We've done 30 of 31 towns. Decorah is the last one. So this is basically completing the loop and making the whole thing available for third-party use. So if down the road, you folks had some reason or need that you had somebody move to town, your system wasn't able to reach them or something didn't work, we would be available, but that option of coming to us would be from you to us, not us to you. We're not marketing the system. We're not trying to sell it to people in town. If you had a need, we would be somebody you could partner with if the fiber lines are available.
Sure. Thanks, Mike.
So you will essentially get paid though for the use of this. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to ask then, can you pay us for the use of the right of way? Because it's outside of the scope of the franchise fee.
Well, of all the 30 towns that we've already taken this to, not one of them has asked us for a payment. The only one that has is Marshalltown, and that's just been a permit fee because we got the original permit as through our energy delivery. But no one has asked us to be compensated for it because the money is going to our customers as opposed to going to each individual city. I don't know how we would be able to determine how much money each individual town would be able to get off of it.
Well, I mean, I think a permit fee makes sense, right? I mean, in general, the franchise fees covers permit fees for electrical use, but not for fiber use. So saying that we would want to have a permit fee for use of, right, city space for fiber would make some amount of sense.
Well, the one that we're using is the city's right-of-way ordinance, and I think the permit fee for that is like under $200. I can't remember how expensive it is. I've read it so darn many times. In Marshalltown, I think it's like $1,000.
Right, but I don't think we currently charge you a permit fee because of the franchise fee.
No, I'm saying the permit fee that we have to pay in Marshalltown is the permit for installation. It's not permit for use.
Right, and the franchise fee is actually a separate consideration. So we tried to originally talk about having it tied to the franchise agreement, but that has additional struggles on the Alliance side where now your marketability of a potential lease that, as Mike said, they're looking at 20, 25-year leases that our franchise agreement has opt-out clauses every 4 or 5 years.
2 or 7 years, yeah. So I mean, if I'm looking to get a lease, I need a 20 to 25-year lease. That's just typically the kind of natural length that these fiber leases are for the companies that want to get these in bulk. So for them, I would then have to be able to say, well, this part of the line is only good for 6 years. And then I'd be back here every 5 years or whatever, kind of doing this all over again to extend it out to 20 years kind of thing. So we're also kind of working here in kind of an unfamiliar space. I know Mid-American got a federal grant to do some of this work. I know a bunch of other companies are doing it. I heard there might even be a grocery store chain in Iowa that is looking to do it with some of their fiber. I think everybody's looking to find a way to use these unused assets to benefit the customers kind of a thing right now. The challenge we face is a lot of the rules and regulations that are written for a telecommunications company, not for people that are trying to do fiber in a space that is kind of unknown to them. So that's a big part of the reason why we have an agreement that is separate from the franchise agreement.
You know, I can sort of imagine a really good argument that, you know, like this is wire that's already buried. It's no skin off the city's back to let ones and zeros move through on it. Potentially it adds value to Alliance bottom line, which, you know, I think we both know like some of that goes in the form of profits to shareholders. Some of that gets reinvested in communities who, you know, have more robust electrical systems. And like that's a pretty good argument to like, hey, you know, there's nothing preventing us from saying, yeah, go ahead and use the lines that, you know, are already there to carry data that customers want to send places. You know, in a scenario where like, I guess that would sort of, that would assume a relationship of sort of mutual good faith, right? Like that, and that's a relationship that I think is really good for a city to have with its incumbent utility provider. Obviously, there's been a recent history of us sort of, you know, proposing a municipalization effort and the Decorah voters choosing not to proceed with it. And so that means, you know, that's my message from Decorah is, hey, work hard to have a good faith relationship with your incumbent utility provider. That's what I heard from the voters vote in the referendum. You know, that leans me towards, you know, saying, hey, sure, let's just let Alliant do it. Other cities have, fine with me. And this is maybe the first step towards rebuilding whatever not good faith aspects of our relationship there are as a result of the referendum. But I have to tell you, I can imagine the other side of the argument too. And the other side of the argument is, you know, with all this money that Alliance is going to make from leasing these out to data companies, are they going to use it to pay the same lawyers who wasted a week of my time last December when I wanted to spend time with my family over Christmas, and instead I was complying with the ridiculous Freedom of Information Act request for thousands of my emails? Would it pay for the same campaigns that I and others have described as not always the more forthcoming or based in reality? Because that's how we've seen Alliance spend money as well. And so understand that I'm hesitant to play nice with a company that I don't think has always played nice with the people I serve, and I know has not always played nice with me. So I'm curious. This is a nice little possibility for us to take a step forward in rebuilding and strengthening a relationship that has been strained. I think that's great. I think that's in both of our interests. I think it's in the interest of the people I serve. What's Alliance's little step forward? I'm not talking about a fee for service here. I don't think that that's really the way to go down, but you know, I don't necessarily want more money in your pocket. You've used it to hurt me. You've used it to hurt people I care about. So what's the response to that?
Well, I don't know if I can necessarily give you like a dollar amount or anything. You know, and really a quid pro quo kind of feels inappropriate here to say, you know, what money are you going to give me so that I can give you what you need and what you want here. I do think though that during the last two campaigns, we as a company have taken an approach that regardless of whatever the campaign is, whatever it's over, we have to do business in this town. And we've worked to make sure that we're not going to be doing anything that is going to make it difficult for us to do business in this town. We've got crews in this town that do a great job and do great work. And really the argument has been with the city and with the company as a whole, as opposed to the people. I mean, I think we've had a longstanding tradition of partnering with the college. We've partnered with the city. We've had multiple conversations about streetlights, trimming trees. I mean, we routinely are having conversations with the city before, during, and after on all kinds of levels on how we can help the city. I mean, with the Hively Street project, I know our crews have dedicated an enormous amount of time trying to figure out how to make sure their lines and the undergrounding that the city's requested is done on time and to the city's schedule. So I think we've done our best to be a good partner. I think when there's a challenge to the company has to make clear its position if another entity wants to take over part of the company. Also calling a Freedom of Information request frivolous, I mean, it's a public record. I don't know if it's necessarily frivolous to ask for public records, or public records are in the public domain. So I don't know if I would necessarily characterize that as frivolous. What I think the issue though that we're talking about today is that we have an opportunity to use an unused and underutilized asset to offset future costs for our customers. And this is the last stop on our tour of getting all of these approvals. You're 31 of the 31 towns that I've got to get the secondary permission for. If not, I've got to build around town. And then Decorah is basically going to be taking money out of that pool that I have to offset customer costs to build around town because the council doesn't want to approve it, which if you don't want to, that's completely your right. I just don't think that really this is that big of an issue because there's already this infrastructure in place. It's already underground. We're not going to be building anything. We're not going to be digging up anything underground.
I think I want to separate what was and what is moving forward. And I think Alliance sees what I also see is that there is an asset underground in Decorah. That asset happens to be in our right of way. And I do think that if I've learned anything over the course of the last two referendums, is that there is a windfall of profit that is garnished in Decorah by the electrical infrastructure that is here. And currently, through Alliant, right, we get some of that money back through a franchise fee to be able to serve Decorah's infrastructure in better ways, right? But I see that fiber and your use of fiber is also going to be generative for income. And I guess there's a part of me that even if it's $1,000, sees a permit fee or some reasonable cost for using the asset that is an asset to you. It's an asset. So is our right of way to us. Right. And so I guess I am interested. I know it sounds like, well, it's $1,000, but $1,000 we can do a cool project with. I don't know. But I guess for me, if I'm going to enter into a lease with Alliant, I actually want some payment in return.
Well,
And that's again driven by understanding that fiber is a huge asset, right? And I don't believe that you say we're going to offset customer cost. You're going to keep raising rates for as long as I live. And you're never going to pass on savings to customers because that has not been your history. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be realistic, right? Your costs go up, customer costs are going to go up. And so just as I'm sure you don't appreciate sort of the notion of like us bringing up how we feel disenfranchised by you, I don't feel like we should BS around the fact that you're not going to pass along customer savings based on the profit you're going to earn from using fiber in the ground. And so on a one-to-one basis, I say you're going to reap benefits and profits from the fiber in the ground that's in Decorah's right away. And I guess I feel like Decorah should reap some of that profit too, even if it's only $1,000, which is apparently what Marshalltown was getting.
I want to hear from other council people too, please.
Do we have any say over these third-party folks offering the fiber for high-speed internet to communities is a good thing, but I know that there's also a growing, these giant AI data centers are also becoming a reality for a lot of people, and I see them exploiting the communities that they are around. If we're entering into 25-year leases with something like that, I would like to have a say as a community over it if that's allowable, if we're allowing that, or if it's something less exploitative like internet to communities. Would we have any say over these third-party areas? Sorry.
Didn't you say at one point that they would have to get council approval?
if somebody wanted to use our lines within the community, I believe it's section 1B
Okay.
or 1C, we're basically making it clear that if we work with a customer, we don't pretend that we have the right to basically grant them permission to do things in town. So that if somebody was to split off of our line and locate something in town, they would have to work with the city to get all of those appropriate clearances and permissions and dig stuff. I don't know necessarily so much about rights and permission because we're not asking to do anything in town. We're just looking to beam a signal through town on a line that's already there. So as far as permissions in that, I don't know why. I mean, there's an unbelievable amount of communication lines that are running underneath your town, and the city doesn't get a vote on every single one of those that's sending something through it. So I don't know if this one would necessarily be all that different.
It brings up a curious question. Why do you have to have is it because it's using our right of way for a new provider and not Alliant?
We are, if you look in our franchise agreement, I think it's either like the preamble or it's section 1. It basically says that the franchise agreement deals with energy delivery. And because this is an asset that was built for energy delivery, because right now it connects our substation, the radio tower north of town, and the operations. Because it connects all that stuff for energy delivery needs, we have to get a secondary clearance from the city and all the cities we have franchised. We have to get permission from them, clearances from them to use this for a secondary use.
Got it. Thank you.
Right. So, and we would normally do that by coming back and trying to renegotiate the franchise agreement. But because we need different timelines, we're coming with this agreement. And this really isn't a lease. We're basically looking for an agreement where we're basically setting up the terms for how we would work together, or how the city would understand how we would work when it comes to leasing these lines for third parties. So it isn't a lease, it's just a dark fiber agreement with the city.
And are you paying Marshalltown $1,000 a year or just $1,000 flat fee?
And the $1,000, I could be kind of fuzzy on that number, so don't hold me to that specifically. It's just a one-time fee because they waived the permit fee because we were because we installed it as an energy provider. Our franchise agreement meant we didn't have to pay the permit fee. Once we started to use it for a third-party use, we had to pay the permit fee. I think it was determined something like so much per mile or so much per city block. And it had an intricate formula that required me and the county or city engineer to work together and come up with a number.
I will make a motion for the resolution approving agreement for dark fiber lease and Decorah right away for Interstate Power and Light Company.
Second.
Motion made by Olson, second by Chisel. Further discussion?
Would you be open for a friendly amendment for $1,000?
I'm happy with it as is.
Any further
Well,
comments?
as we heard earlier tonight, the school is working with Alliant to put in sustainability measures and keep their energy costs down. And I know from experience, we've worked with them here to get our costs down. The wastewater plant, all of our facilities have. We've done it at our school. Also, last year, they came in and did an audit for us, and it saved us thousands of dollars. So they have been a great community partner for the larger entities. And this is not going to compete in any way, shape, or form with the utility that we're trying to put in. So
We're 100% sure on that.
Anything that would be done outside of their existing fiber network would require a telecommunications utility franchise agreement, which is issued by the state. So I want to be clear about that. It is different than a electric franchise fee or gas franchise fee, which are negotiated on individual levels. But that would be issued by the state and outside of this agreement,
But it could compete with us.
No.
potentially.
No, sections 1A.
I'm saying if a
Yeah.
telecommunications utility franchise agreement's given, then yes, that could.
Yeah, I mean, so
not-
we don't have a say on giving that. So if you offer your lines to a third party, and then that third party wants to build out a telecommunications in town, the state could give them that authority. That would compete with us.
No, because we say here, if you read sections 1A and 1B, it's some fantastic language that John and I put together that basically says that we will not serve the community with a third party. We're not. It says it in the agreement, sections 1A and 1B, where it basically says that we will not let anyone tap into our lines within the city limits to serve the community.
Travis, John, is that?
Get my,
There.
there,
you go. You'll have that one.
the agreement, Mike, I think says that Alliant won't compete with the city. I don't know that that says that the agreement prevents the third party who's leasing the fiber from trying to compete with the city. I mean, unless Alliant is putting in every lease that it has for its fiber that thou shalt not compete with the city of Decorah, I don't know how we police
There's
that.
in the agreement that we agreed not to split off our lines to serve anybody in town. If we're not going to split off our lines, there's no way anybody could use our lines within the community.
Well, and I'm not an expert on this, but obviously, but that's just going through the community. Couldn't they get into the community and then outside the community loop back in somehow? I'm just saying that it does not specifically prohibit all possible routes for somebody to use that to compete against us. I think Alliant, you've done all that you can do, or I don't know what else I could ask Alliant to do about that. I'm just, it's opaque. I don't see what's happening with that third party and what they're gonna do. I don't know that you know what they're gonna do with it.
Well, for us, a third party is more point to point because they got to use something on the other end. So, like if like a Comilac or somebody is serving Wisconsin, they're feeding it from Dubuque, kind of a thing. So, I mean, for a customer to do anything in the community using our lines would violate sections 1A and 1B of the agreement because we are not letting anybody split off the line in city limits. And then if somebody was to split off city limits, they would actually have to come to the council to get permissions to dig, to put in lines and all of that. So
I get that. I understand. Nobody's splicing in, nobody's tapping into that line in our right of way. But they're connecting through a system, and what they do with that system once they leave the city, I mean, couldn't they come back into the city somehow and try to use that? I'm just, you're using this to get fiber to Decorah from somewhere else, miles, dozens of miles, hundreds of miles away. That's going to facilitate their program. I'm just saying
it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility to me that it could somehow be used. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just also saying, I'm not going to say it's 100% that it can't be used somehow to bring a competitor or service to Decorah. That's all I'm saying.
John, can
No,
I ask
no,
a clarifying
I-
question?
Actually, no.
I was going to take your side on it, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Steve. Well, you go first. He works for you, not for me.
All right. I just want to clarify. I mean, under your theory of how they could maybe get around this language, which does seem to me to be pretty restrictive about the rights of third parties to do anything. I think it's important that council actually read the two sub paragraphs that, you pointed out again, in the lease agreement that's proposed. But under your theory, like, why couldn't they just like tap into it outside of city limits right now and bring it in? I mean,
Yeah,
that I guess what I'm saying is like, this doesn't give them an ability to do something that they can't already do
Right.
without this agreement anyway. So like,
Right.
I feel like your theory, yes, is it possible? Sure. But I hope council's aware that probably what we're talking about is someone who would then have to spend $15 million burying their own line all over town to connect to every house.
Right.
And then go into competition with our system, which is going to be really great and no one's going to want to compete with it. And so I feel as if that would, we don't want to get too bogged down in this, what if they found a way around this contract language and competed with our internet provision? I'm not worried about that based on the clear reading of this language and given that you could all just tap into it out of town and bring it in if that was your intent. Is that?
I don't disagree. I mean, I think you are right. I bring it up because I think one of the difficulties in things like this is the future. Future's always unknown. You don't want to tie your hands for 25 years because, like I said, there could be something in it for Decorah. I don't know what. Right now I'm thinking and hoping it would be $1,000, but does this facilitate an easier method for a data center to be closer to here? Because
It would all depend on where any access points are. I don't have the access points maps are. You can't really necessarily cut into the fiber itself. You would have to go to where one of the access points are, kind of think like an underground vault.
Right.
Kind of a thing. But there would also be a whole lot of other stuff that would be necessarily needed for a data center, not just the access to the fiber lines. I mean, you would need the power source, you would need the transmission sources, you would need a lot of stuff. And I don't know if this neck of the woods is necessarily all of those factors make this a prime area for a data center, as opposed to someplace that has like a big industrial park that has transmission lines running right through it. I can't speak specifically to its ability to bring a data center in or not.
the client doesn't have the infrastructure that would then make it easier for a data center to come along with the fiber in this area.
I don't know.
No, meaning,
I mean, we don't own land here. I mean, like the two data centers that we're putting in Cedar Rapids, we own the land.
okay.
So we don't own land anywhere in town. We don't own any industrial park facility here in town. So, I mean, really, we're just looking to do it to, if I've got a customer in Wisconsin that wants to build somewhere in Ames or, forever, they can connect the two facilities, they can hook up the pipe and they can shoot a signal down it. And when I talk about the potential benefits of town, if you did have a large data user who wanted to come to town and you were able to encourage responsible data center growth and involvement, it would be a potential option if your system didn't have the capacity they needed, or your system and my system together could provide the capacity they needed. Right now, I'm not looking to do that. I'm just looking to close the hole so I have the whole system available, and Decorah is the last stop on my trip. As far as locating here, I don't really have, I really haven't seen anything that leads me to believe that we're looking to locate or help a business locate here that is of that kind of data center variety.
Okay. Roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Neal,
No.
Parker.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you very much.
Consider resolution approving EECBG subrecipient agreement with Northeast Iowa Community Action Corporation.
So this is actually already an existing grant. The city's been awarded. We already have we don't have an agreement with Northeast Iowa Community Action Council as a subrecipient. This is essentially a safeguard that makes sure they use the funds as are required by the EECBG. So again, already an existing grant that the city applied for, said we'll provide 20,000 in local match, but we need to make sure that Community Action does as they're supposed to with those funds. And if they don't, we get to go after them to make sure we aren't left holding the costs associated with the project because they didn't follow the rules.
I'll make a motion to support the resolution to approve an EECBG subrecipient agreement with Northeast Iowa Community Action Corp.
I will second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Olson. Any discussion? Roll call?
Neil,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Whittle,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider resolution authorizing IDEA CAT grant application and required local match. Travis.
All right, so council's already approved this once before. However, little update here. So staff and Winnebago County Development and Tourism staff have been in contact with the IEDA regarding the CAT grant and the city's application for the Decorah Athletic Complex. Winnebago County Development and Tourism staff has confirmed that the city could apply for the higher threshold of $1 million and have it not be an all or nothing award. So that was part of the initial concern. We were operating under a $500,000 previous max allocation because CATS is community attraction and tourism. So essentially, if you take the first two, the community attraction, that's that $500,000 match. The tourism portion, is if you can demonstrate that your project is a regional tourism project. Now, that's a much higher threshold. So we've received confirmation that's not necessarily an all or none. So if they come back and say, no, you're not, you haven't met that threshold, but we're interested in awarding 700, 750, maybe it is only 500,000. They'll come back. It's not necessarily an all or none. So staff is proposing to apply to $1 million. So this is a not to exceed $1 million application because our already existing project is at $3 million. But $1 million application would actually, we wouldn't be able to apply for a full million based on what's already awarded. So what's proposed is $1 million application for the already awarded the project, closing the existing fundraising gap, which is now less than $100,000, and adding lights for the pickleball, all the pickleball courts and 2 ball fields, and then using the remaining potential grant revenues for a permanent restroom concession stand storage building on the site. The fundraising committee has received over $1 million in private donations and pledges to date,
Amazing.
along with the city's unexpended contributions of nearly 1.2 million, the $377,000 in WQI grant funding secured by the city, and the county's $5,000. These funds would be used as the local match to allow us to apply for $1 million.
Perfect.
Great.
I
I'll
go
make-
for approval.
I will second that.
Okay, so we have motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Any further discussion?
I just want to thank Travis and Stephanie Fromm for working on this and coming up with the idea that we could actually apply for more money. And everybody else that's contributed to this fund, including the county and the city and all the private donations. Thanks, everybody, for doing all that.
And I do want to redirect a lot of that to Mark as
Mhm.
well. Mark's
Right,
done
right.
a ton of the legwork,
Yeah, true.
you know, and all the fundraising that's been done, all those pledge forms that are coming in, you know, they're, that's part of the application
Right.
Yeah.
is all of those pledge forms and everything. So a lot of kudos to Mark as well.
Right.
I agree.
And the
Thank
committee
you.
that
Yeah.
helped raise those funds too. Yeah, appreciate that, Mark. Guys.
And kudos in general to Decorah. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that is one of the things I love most about our community, right? We have a vision and we make it happen, and we make it happen together. And good leadership, right? From Parks, from you, from so much of it, but also just good community. So
We still have naming rights available for $500,000.
Okay,
well, there you go, Lion.
Right.
Doesn't Alliant want to call it the, I mean, that would just put the icing on the cake.
Mike, feel free to come forward to the.
okay. Roll call.
Jizzle.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Consider resolution approving contract and performance and payment bonds for the wastewater treatment plant improvement projects.
This is an administrative step. The mayor's already signed the contracts, which the council's already approved. It's to acknowledge that payment bonds, performance bonds have been received, contracts are executed.
Move for the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Whittle. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Jizzle.
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider an ordinance on amending chapter 17.28 of the Decorah Municipal Code regarding dimensional variances by the Board of Adjustment, second reading.
The proposed ordinance is a result of Senate File 652 adopted by the legislature this past session. HF 652 lowered the threshold requirement for dimensional variances, meaning anything from the city's bulk regulations of setbacks, maximum lot coverage, height restrictions, or other numerical limitations. So the proposed language reflects this language. The Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval, and we have not received any comments or feedback.
Move for approval.
Second.
Who did that?
Olson.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Further discussion? Roll call.
Chisel.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Neal.
No.
Parker.
Aye.
Sittergruen.
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Okay, so we have it. We have to do a third reading too, right? Yep, gotcha. Consider an ordinance on amending chapters 17.68, 17.72, and 17.76 of the Decorah Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units, second reading.
So similarly, this ordinance is a result of House File 592 adopted by the legislature this season, which established statewide requirements for ADUs that the city cannot further restrict. Two main requirements are that an ADU shall not exceed 1,000 square feet or 50% of the size of the single-family residence, whichever is larger, and that the accessory dwelling units comply with the same zoning requirements as the principal structure. The proposed changes reflect this language. Another thing to note that we also had to remove to comply with state code is the previous requirement that one of either the ADU or the principal structure must involve the property owner. So our original code said that to have an ADU, you need to either live in the principal structure or the ADU. State code said, nope, can't do that, take that out. So we had to take that out as well. Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval, and we have not received any comments or feedback on this one as well.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Olson. Further discussion?
Yeah, I think this is so stupid. And I think that the state of Iowa legislators should be ashamed of themselves for this anti-housing measure. This is exactly the opposite direction of many states, both red and blue around the country, that are taking steps to make it easier, not harder to build housing. And Iowans should get more from their elected officials at the state level, and they should demand it. And I think they should vote that way.
I mean, thanks, Steve. I said it last time, so I guess I was just voting no because that is my point. The state really needs to figure out what it is that they're good at doing and let local governments do what they're good at doing, which is taking care of their communities. And this, as Steve said, it is a housing killing measure. And I think the state has shown time and time again their lack of creativity and their desire to have a strong arm as opposed to a smart mind.
Okay, roll call.
Jizzle.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Whittle.
Aye.
Neal.
Nope. What happens if we actually didn't pass an ordinance? We just be not in compliance with state law?
So I would then have to potentially deny or grant a variance, or excuse me, not a variance, building permit application based on our existing code. And then depending on if it was a denial, but it met the state code, then that person could file suit against the city for our failure to comply with state code. Alternatively, if we awarded under our old code, which was easier for an accessory dweller, or still is our current code, I guess. We haven't adopted the new one yet. But the detached was easier. If we awarded that and the neighbor didn't like that, they could file suit against the city because we're not following state code.
What happens if the state, since we're looking at January, what happens if they make a new code or law that we decide violates our understanding of what we'd like to see in our community and also violates the Constitution? What then do we have? Does that go to the Supreme Court? How does that work?
Well, with home rule, cities can, except for taxes, cities can make any law except where the legislature has basically spoken. So if they pass a law and they have spoken about something, that chips away at home rule. But I would say, I'd always want to review it. It's probably constitutional because that's how I believe the home rule in the Constitution is written.
So
If the state has not occupied the area, so to speak, then the city can make a law about it. But once the state has occupied that area,
even if
then-
the city was to determine that the law the state made was unconstitutional.
well, but
You're
what's your
talking federal constitution?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
oh, well, that's a different, federal constitution trumps obviously state. I don't know what that law what that would look like, but,
I'm
think
just
we
curious.
can-
I mean, you see it happening, right? I mean, there is a real and present danger that states will start to make laws that cities may not agree with that would be questioned by the Constitution. So if a city wanted to take a stand at that, do we get to go to the Supreme Court or how does that work?
I would have to look at a fact scenario to try
Okay.
to figure that out.
I'll ask you off.
Yeah.
I was going to say, on another night.
Yeah.
I wanted
Okay.
to thank the Public Works and the Police Department for how smoothly today's visit from the Crown Prince went. Yeah, I forgot to say something because it was so smooth that it was hard to notice, but that's exactly what we're shooting for. So thank you so much to everyone who made today's visit go so well.
I heard the compliments as well from them, as also, what's the other thing we had so much? It must have been homecoming or something, but we've been getting good kudos out there and we're passing them on for you. 2 vacancies on the Decorah Human Rights Commission. Any other matters?
Move to adjourn.
Be kind.